So let's start up with our second tutorial. We're going to talk about text, the circular or oval tool, and the box tool or rectangle tool. Let's start with the oval or the circular tool. You'll notice that on the oval tool I have two colors here, and you'll see them in the property window. It says I've got the oval tool selected down here. I have a stroke and a color. If I don't want the stroke, one of the things that I can do is select the stroke. Notice how that little stroke color changes, and notice this line through it means I don't want a color. I don't want a stroke. I just want a fill color. If I do want a stroke, I just deselect that, and it gives me the ability to go back in and put a color. In this case, I'm going to pick a blue and a red, so we can see these on the background. Now, also, I can play with the size of my stroke here, or the line density, or the line size. This is done in pixels. It can be quite large, all the way down to almost nothing. You got to be careful when you're working with 0.25 because it's going to be real difficult to see. You'd really have to zoom in to see that. Oops. Let me go in and show you. I'm going to select the stroke. It's at 2 right now. I'm going to go down and take it all the way down. And notice how hard it is to see. You got to really, we use the zoom into that to see that. And even still, you can barely see it. So the 0.25, if you really want a stroke, is going to be real small. So again, I'm going to go show frame. I'm going to go back in, select my stroke. You'll notice I got my stroke because my little arrow gets that look under it. That's too big. I don't want it that big. Let's go about 5. Okay. I have my object, and if I double click it, I should get both. So I get both of those. Another way to select everything is just to grab the selection and the select tool and just encircle it, and that gives you everything to select. You have to be careful when you're working with too many objects on one layer, and I'll show you why. When we work with this oval tool, you'll notice that if I want to make a circle, if I'm worried about keeping it concise or concentric, I can hit the shift key and it automatically does it for me. Or notice the little circle in the crosshairs. That tells me that my circle is concentric. Okay. If I don't want it to be, I can squeeze it or move it up or down, and that gives me the ability to put together a circle like that or a oval like that. I have to be careful though, because if I come in here and let's say I select this and I move it over the circle, I deselect it and I think, oh, you know what, I really don't want that. I select everything again, I move it over. Oops, now I've got something that's joined. I've made a big mistake. Okay, I don't want to do that. So I've got to be really careful. If I click this and I move this out of the way, notice that it ate away at my selection here. I do that again, I bring it over here, let's say I click here, deselect, double click everything, move it off, and guess what? It ate it away again. The same can happen if I come over here and I select this. Whoops, let's do this again. I select it, double click it by selecting everything, I click off, I click this, and notice what happened here to the line. It went all the way around until it found its connection here, and then it connected here. Okay, so it doesn't matter how I connect this. If I select here and I hit delete, now I have one big object. Okay, and the same is for the sub-select tool. I just have this line though because it's not part of this. Okay, so I've got to be real careful when I do those things. We want to hit, Control Z is our friend, undo, 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 and it takes us all the way back to everything. Okay. One of the things I want to talk about is our ability to go in and edit this project or edit this symbol or this object. It's not a symbol yet, so I don't want to use that word symbol. It's just an object on the timeline right now. You'll notice that I can move this circle in any way. It has no corners, so I'm not going to get that corner tool like we did. Notice how I have the little arch or the arc underneath the arrow. I'm not going to get a corner select because basically it doesn't have any corners until I put one in just like I did there. So all I did was I brought this corner back over on itself, and now not only did it get rid of this, because it basically cut it out, it pulled it across back on itself, and now I have the stroke is gone, the fill is gone, only the stroke is left behind. And I've also now created an intersection, which gives me a corner. Okay, so now I've gone in and I started to create, I don't know, multiple things that I've got to be careful about. This is one of those things that when you're working in Flash, it's vector art and it's easy to manipulate and it's hard to get back to where we were. So you got to be careful. All of this, remember, started from just a simple circle. Okay, and that's how we get these pieces. You know, sometimes all we do is come in and select and it clicks back on itself, and this is how we get these odd shapes. So you got to kind of be careful. Now I've created these points and now I'm starting to get edges and intersections, and that's what happens. We get intersections and now we get the corners. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let me show you how easy it is. I'm going to use the box. This is the rectangle tool, and we're going to do the same thing, except I'm going to do some different stuff here, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. If I double click on the rectangle tool, it gives me the ability to put a corner radius in. Right now it's just going to be corners, sharp corners. If I want a radius, if I want it to be oval, or, rounded, I can go in and put points in. Okay, I'm in this point. At this point, I really don't want one, but you should know that it has the ability to do that. And we get that by again, I get that by double clicking on that. Okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to make a box, and I am in the same situation as I was before. I have a stroke and I have a fill color. If I don't want the box, I don't want the stroke, again, I'm going to go ahead and select this and get rid of it and show you what I mean. If I don't want the stroke, I go in, I hit no stroke. I go in, okay, and I select the box. I have no stroke, and I just get a box. I have the ability to manipulate it just like before. Okay, so I can come in and play with these and kind of get any kind of shape that I want. Okay, this is kind of like the free transform, but not really, because I'm able to go in and do the arcs. With free transform, remember that it gives us the ability to make it larger, squattier. We can change it that way. We can rotate it. We can get it to skew. Okay, so that's a little different, but we still have the same box shape. And again, I can come in here and I can play with it. And maybe this is a sail for a boat. Okay, and we want it to have that kind of look that it's on a sail. You know how they get all billowy and puffy. Now I'm going to have to go in and rotate it a little bit because we want it to look like a sail. Okay, and if I wanted now, I could go in and maybe I want to put a mast. Okay, I'm going to actually go on layer 2 to put the mast because I don't want it to be I don't want to work on layer 3. I want to work on the second layer. So I'm going to actually go in. I'm going to get a fill. I want kind of a brown. Let's do that. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to put a mast. I'm going to close that off a little bit. I'm going to play with this. We kind of want it to look a little oval. I'm going to take the snap off because I don't want it to snap. It's giving me some snap. Let's do this. I'm going to give it a little, kind of a little arc to it. I'm going to go in and zoom in. Okay. And I really don't care too much what it looks like. I mean, we kind of do, but right now we're just kind of looking. We can move this a little over. Okay, so there's our mast. We can go in and put a little shade on it if we want to. I'm going to move this layer 1 up on layer 3. I'm actually going to give it a little sheen, so I'm going to make it white. Actually, and I'm going to come in here like this, and notice now I can kind of start to play. So maybe we're kind of getting a little cartoon look to our sheen, but that's okay because you want to learn. You're learning to work with with Flash, and Flash has a lot of things that it can do. You know, we're getting a little sheen to it. We could actually go in and put in some tug lines where we know that some taunt lines where we know that the wind is going to be the wind is pulling on the lines if we wanted to do that. Remember, I told you there's very few times that I'm using a line tool, but I can use a line right here. Go in and I'm going to pick white, and I'm just going to kind of pick this line. You know, we can do that if we want. If I don't want them, I just take them out. No harm, no foul. And then I'm forgetting the most important part. I think I need a boat. So I'm just going to go in here to the rectangle tool. Again, I'm going to pick a color. I don't want a stroke. I'm going to take the stroke. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and leave the stroke. Let's do a real dark brown on this. And we'll make our boat a little brighter or a little lighter brown. Let's see, how does that look? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, first off, I want to show you one of the things we should do is group the sail. So I'm going to actually come in here and I'm going to group the sail. I'm going to take this one off. First I'm going to take this, I'm going to hit Control X, which means I'm going to take it off. I'm cutting it out. I'm going back here and I'm on my layer right here. I want to group this sail. I'm just going to group it, and then I'm going to hit Edit, Paste in Place, and there's my little highlight for my sail. Okay, I got a problem though because I didn't group it, so I want to go back in. I'm going to go Modify, Group, so now I have it together. So these two things are together now on the same layer. The reason it was behind the sail, when it came in, the sail became primary. The red box became the primary, and then the white box became the secondary, so it went behind the grouping, the item that was already grouped. Now I could have fixed that by going to Modify, Arrange, and then Bring to Front or Bring Forward, but in this case I knew I was going to group it anyway, so I just went ahead and selected Group. We're going to go ahead and group this. It's on its own layer, so it doesn't really matter. And then I have layer 1 open. So I'm going to work in layer 1 for my boat. Here's my boat colors. I'm going to pick the box, and I'm just going to make a box. No big deal. Just a box. Our mast is the same color as our box, but that's okay because we're not going to worry about it. I'm going to pull some points. I'm going to pull this back, and I'm going to kind of pull that one back, and you'll see what I'm going to do in a minute. I'm going to pull that like that. Now I'm going to pull this down. Okay? So now I'm kind of trying to put together a little, oops, I don't want to do that. I want to put together a little boat. When I move the stroke, notice that the fill moves with it. If I don't do that and I just move this, or I just play with that line, it disconnects from the drawing, just like that, or from the box. We don't want to do that yet. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a boat. I can start to see that now I have my boat. We can go in and add some detail, but right now what we've done is we've created this little boat. As we start to talk about more and more advanced drawing techniques, we'll talk about how to get rid of that fill, that line, and turn it actually to a fill. And that gives us some ability to really manipulate that line, to change the thicknesses in different locations. But for right now, what you should know is that this is a stroke, and no matter what I do, no matter how I move it around, it's still going to maintain its line thickness. So it doesn't matter what I do, it's still going to maintain its line thickness. Okay? And if I want to go in and double click that, I've selected both the stroke and the fill, and I can move it up now so that I can hide my mast. And so now I have basically a boat with a sail. Didn't take us very much to get there. Remember, we selected our box. We made a box kind of cartoonish, and we went, oh, that looks good. That kind of looks like a sail. And then we put a little sheen on there from the sun, and then we made a mast. We don't have anything on the mast. Maybe I want the mast to have a fill or a stroke around it as well. Let's talk about that. So I'm going to double click it, And because it's grouped, it's treated as a grouped object. Notice up here I have my scene and then I have something grouped in it. So now I'm down a level, or in the scene a level, working with this grouped object. Okay. I want to go in and select the ink bottle, and notice the ink bottle gives me a stroke. Okay. It will go in and put a stroke all the way around. It will not fill it, because that's different. The paint bucket will go in and fill something. This gives it a stroke. I want to actually go in and I'm going to try and get that somewhat darker. And I want to come in here and select something dark. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to select this. I'm just going to hit this here, and notice it gives me the stroke. That's way too big, but it gives you the idea that it put a stroke around it. I'm going to select this, double select it, double click on it. It's solid, that's fine. And I'm going to reduce the size of that. I'm going to go to say 2. Notice it gave me a much smaller stroke around it. So now when I go back, I'm going to select back to the scene because I'm working with the grouped object. Now this is different than putting together a symbol. This is just a grouped object. I'm going to go back to scene, and notice now, you can't see it very well, but let me grab all this. I'm going to move it out of the way, and now you can see the stroke around this. Not really great. Let me go ahead and see if we can change that even better. So we'll come down here, we'll change it to that, we'll hit OK, and now we really can see the stroke. So I go back to the scene. So here's my stroke. I can do the same thing here. If I'm not happy with that stroke, double click it. You haven't done anything, we haven't grouped it, we haven't done anything, made it a symbol, or done any of those things yet. I can change the color there as well. I can go in and say I want to customize a color. Because we've selected the brown, you'll notice this is in the brown family now. So we can go much darker, hit OK, and now we've got a dark stroke around our boat. If you didn't like that, hit Control Z, it takes it and puts it back. Okay. Hit it twice though. I can do the same thing with my sail. Double click on the sail. If I want to go for a stroke around it. Okay, currently it says there isn't one. I want to go back. Control Z. Oops. Yeah, Control Z is our friend. Hit your select, get out of there, and go back. We want to go in. I want to select off. I want to put a stroke in here. Let's go with a dark red. All I have to do is, now notice if I click inside here, okay, all I have to do is click there and it puts the stroke around it for me. These are one of the few tools that I can go in and select the stroke. If there was a stroke already, I could try and select it that way, or I can just click and it will put a stroke around it for me, so I don't really have to worry too much. Okay, so we've built this little boat. You can go in and add more to it if you want. It's easy to do. We've got our line tools. We can go in and add lines here if we want to. Remember, we want to go in. If we add a line, we can just draw it straight across. But be careful, because why? Exactly. I have not grouped this, so if I add a line to it, remember that I'm going to end up cutting it out of the boat, and I don't want to do that. So we're going to group that. If I want to add a line to it, I can go in and just do this, and this allows me to come in here and pull this line out. But remember what I talked about, the line's not grouped. So go here, arrange. I can't do anything. Won't let me do this. So I'm going to grab this, modify, arrange. I want to send this to back, and I still have a problem because the line isn't anything yet. Here's the line. It's still going to be on the same layer as my boat, and my line is the same, and the boat is going to take precedence over the line. So I have two options. I can cut the boat out, go back down here to layer 2, hit edit, paste in place, and now I have my boat and the sail on the same line. on the same layer. Oops. I want to bring this over, put it here. Now I can come in here and move this line around so I can start to get a... Now see how I get these little picks at the end here? And I can start to play around here. So here's my line here. If I hit Control C, which is copy, I go Edit, paste in place, I get a second line here. I pull it, oops, I want to select it. Oh shoot, what happened? Here's copy. Oops. Let's go back to this, because we have to work within our layer. Edit, paste in place. So now I have two. Whew. Starting to wonder what happened there. And if I want to do the same thing again, I hit copy, edit, paste in place, and I hit my downward arrows again. So now I have three of the same looking lines. They shouldn't look the same because the boat's kind of changing as it moves closer to the water line, but what makes this nice is I can now go in and start to play with the curvatures. Okay, and I can treat each line separately. Okay. Now you'll notice every time when I selected, if I wasn't selecting the line perfectly, the boat became selected. Problem. The way I can stop that is I can lock that layer. So now, no matter what I do, I cannot select, except you'll see here's the mast. I can select only the line, and I don't have to worry about selecting anything else that's on this third layer, this layer right here. Okay, so that gives me the ability now to go in and kind of play with these lines. Okay, that's one of the few times that we could use the line tool. And even in this case, you'll see when we get to the beginning and advanced drawing section of Flash, I probably would use this line and turn it into a fill. Okay, I would actually go in and take the shape and then convert the line to fill, because I want to be able to play with that line, and I don't want it to have to keep its two pixel stroke. Okay, so this is one of those opportunities where yes, I would put the line down, but I would very quickly go in and change that to something else. Okay, since I'm being consistent, I want to go ahead and take this mast out, hit X or cut, go back into the layer, hit edit. I have to deselect it if I'm going to work in it. I can't lock it. Hit edit, paste in place. Now I have this. Now I go to modify, okay, arrange, and then I'm going to send it backwards. I still got to bring this one forward. This is kind of where you have to go in and play with everything. And now I have this. The only problem is what? Yeah, I got that darn. I'm going to have to send this back because I need to bring this to the front. Okay, so I'm going to arrange, bring to front. I'm going to send this to back. So now I have everything set up the way I want. And it's all on this layer. So if I turn this off, the only thing you see now are the lines, and the boat and sailboat and everything are on this one layer. The way we did that, remember, was I selected the object, I went to edit, cut, then I went to the layer I wanted it to go into, selected it, and then hit edit, paste in place, and then I had to go back in and play with my arrangement, whether I brought it forward or back. Okay, I can do the same thing here and group these lines together if I want to. I want to select all of them holding the shift key down. I can go to modify group. Okay, and now if I wanted to turn this into a symbol, I could say we could turn this and say modify, convert to symbol. It's a movie clip, and we'll say sail. I'll say OK. Again, I'm going to have to play again. So this is the problem when we start to do this kind of stuff. We want to make sure that we're playing with all of this correctly in the correct order. We kind of mold around, and when we change the grouping and turn it to a symbol, then we have to start playing with its arrangements again. So I'm going to go to modify, convert to symbol, sail, highlight. Okay. Oops, I forgot the H. Okay, and now I have mast, modify, convert the symbol, we'll just say mast. Okay, I'm going to modify, I'm going to send that obviously to the back, and here's the boat. We're going to convert to symbol, we're going to say boat, and then we don't have to worry about it sending it back because it's already in the front, which is where we want it to be. And then these lines, we can convert those to symbols, because you never know, we might want to take them out, play with them, do whatever. And we want to make sure that, because we're going to remember what's going to happen here. We're going to take these, Control X, go back into the layer 3. Notice everything's grouped here. I'm going to go Edit, Paste in Place, and I want to make sure that these are brought to the front. So now I have all of these symbols. If I look at my symbol library, now look what I have. I have a boat, I have the lines, mast, sail, and then the sail highlight. So now I've built myself a little library. If I've accidentally get rid of any of these, let me open up this window and go to Library, and you'll see now that each one of these shows you what the picture looks like. Okay, that's the sail highlight, which is there. If by some weird thing I accidentally delete that, all I have to do is bring that back out and put it back. Now I can play with where it goes and play around with it. Okay. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to group the boat. It's simple. All I'm going to do now is actually create one boat. Okay, now I'm going to convert it all to a symbol, and I'm going to say sailboat, because I already have a boat in my library, as you'll notice over here. I already have boat. So I'm just going to say, let's turn it all into one big clip and say, okay. So now I have one clip. There it is. These are all the pieces that made the boat. Okay, and here's the boat. Now if I double click, notice I go to sailboat. And with each one of these, if I double click this, notice I go down even deeper into the movie clip. So now I have scene 1, sailboat. Here's the sail. I go back to the boat, I double click on this, and it says sail highlight, and it's editable now. I can play with this. If I don't like the way it looks, I can move it. I can double click on it, and I can change the way, that looks. I can make it smaller. I can, start to change the curvature. I can do pretty much anything that I want at this point, okay, by doing that. And I go back up one level, and then I hit the sailboat, and I'm here. Here's the lines. I can double click the lines. I can play with the boat itself. So that's how we have one movie clip. We'll put that back in the center here. Show frame, and there it is. And so this is how we put together using our basic shapes, putting together a little short, small movie clip, and we used our drawing tools to do that. What I want you to do is try and construct the sailboat, save it as your last name _ so I'm going to go File, Save As, and then I'm going to say, in this case I'll say Svensson _ sailboat. So I want you to go in and make your sailboat, and then when you're done, send it to me. And that's the end of our Basic Tools 2 video. If you have any questions, email me. Thanks.